Psychologically, young girls and young boys are as though as asleep about the fact that they themselves are prey. Although sometimes it seems life would be much easier and much less painful if all humans were born totally awake, they are not. We are all born unlachen. There is no coincidence in you being here listening to this book. There is always the path of the soul guiding you back home, guiding you to be really free. Naive women as prey. The youngest sister, the most undeveloped one, plays out the very human story of the naive woman. She will be captured temporarily by her own interior stalker. Yet she will out in the end, wiser, stronger, and recognizing the wily predator of her own psyche on sight. The psychological story underlying the tale also applies to the older woman, who has not yet completely learned to recognize the innate predator. Perhaps she has begun the process over and over again, but lacking guidance and support has not yet finished with it. This is why teaching stories are so nourishing. They provide initiatory maps so even work which has hit a snag can be completed. The Bluebeard story is valuable to all women, regardless of whether they are very young and just learning about the predator, or whether they have been hounded and harassed by it for decades and are at last ready for a final and decisive battle with it. The youngest sister represents a creative potential within the psyche, a something that is going toward exuberant and visioning life. But there is a detour, and she agrees to become the prize of a vicious man because her instincts to notice and do otherwise are not intact. Psychologically, young girls and young boys are as though as asleep about the fact that they themselves are prey. Although sometimes it seems life would be much easier and much less painful if all humans were born totally awake, they are not. We are all born unlachen. Like the potential at the center of a cell, in biology, the unlach is the part of a cell characterized as that which will become. Within the unlach is the primal substance which in time will develop, causing us to become a complete someone. So our lives as women are ones of quickening the unlach. The Bluebeard tale speaks to the awakening and education of this psychic center, this glowing cell. In service of this education, the youngest sister agrees to marry a force, which she believes to be very elegant. The fairy tale marriage represents a new status being sought, a new layer of the psyche about to be unfurled. However, the young wife has fooled herself. Initially, she felt fearful of Bluebeard. She was wary. However, a little pleasure out in the woods causes her to overrule her intuition. Almost all women have had this experience at least once. As a result, she persuades herself that Bluebeard is not dangerous, but only idiosyncratic and eccentric. Oh, how silly! Why I am so put off by that little old Bluebeard. Her wildish nature, however, has already sniffed out the situation and knows the blue-bearded man is lethal, but the naive psyche disallows this inner knowing. This error of judgment is almost routine in a woman so young that her alarm systems are not yet developed. She's like an orphan wolf pup who rolls and plays in the clearing, heedless of the 90-pound bobcat approaching from the shadows. In the case of the older woman, who is so cut away from the wild that she can barely hear the inner warnings, she too proceeds, smiling naively. You might well wonder if all this could be avoided. As in the animal world, a young girl learns to see the predator via her mother's and father's teachings. Without parents' loving guidance, she will certainly be prey early on. In hindsight, almost all of us have, at least once, experienced a compelling idea or semi-dazzling person crawling in through our psychic windows at night and catching us off guard. Even though they are wearing a ski mask, have a knife between their teeth, and a sack of money slung over their shoulder, we believe them when they tell us they are in the banking business. However, even with wise mothering and fathering, the young female may, especially beginning about age 12, be seduced away from her own truth by peer groups, cultural forces, or psychic pressures, and so begins a rather reckless risk-taking in order to find out for herself. When I work with older teenage girls who are convinced that the world is good if they only work it right, it always makes me feel like an old gray-haired dog. I want to put my paws over my eyes and groan, for I see what they do not see, and I know, especially if they are willful and feisty, that they are going to insist on becoming involved with the predator at least once before they are shocked awake. At the beginning of our lives, our feminine viewpoint is very naive, meaning that emotional understanding of the covert is very faint. But this is where we all begin as females. We are naive and we talk ourselves into some very confusing situations. To be uninitiated in the ways of these matters means that we are in a time of our life when we are vulnerable to seeing only the overt. Among wolves, when the bitch leaves her pups to go hunting, the young ones try to follow her out of the den and down the path. She snarls at them, lunges at them, and scares the bejesus out of them till they run slipping and sliding back to the den. Their mother knows her pups do not yet know how to weigh and assess other creatures. They do not know who is a predator and who is not, but in time she will teach them, both harshly and well. Like wolf pups, women need a similar initiation, one which teaches that the inner and outer worlds are not always happy-go-lucky places. Many women do not even have the basic teaching about predators that a wolf mother gives her pups, such as, if it is threatening and bigger than you, flee. If it is weaker, see what you want to do. If it is sick, leave it alone. If it has quills, poison, fangs, or razor claws, back up and go into other direction. If it smells nice, but it is wrapped around metal jaws, walk on by. The youngest sister in the story is not only naive about her own mental process and totally ignorant about the murdering aspect of her own psyche, but is also able to be lured by pleasures of the ego. And why not? We all want everything to be wonderful. Every woman wants to sit upon a horse, dressed in bells, and go riding off through the boundless green and sensual forest. All humans want to attain early paradise here on earth. The problem is that ego desires to feel wonderful, but a yearn for the paradisiacal, when combined by naivete, makes us not fulfilled but food for the predator. This acquiescence to marrying the monster is actually decided when girls are very young, usually before 5 years of age. and they are taught not to see and instead to make pretty all manner of grotesque cuties, whether they are lovely or not. This training is why the youngest sister can say, his beard isn't really that blue. This early training to be nice causes women to override their intuitions. In that sense, they are actually purposefully taught to submit to the predator. Imagine a wolf mother teaching her young to be nice in the face of an angry ferret or wily diamondback rattler. In the tale, even the mother colludes. She goes on the picnic, goes along for the ride. She doesn't say a word of caution to any of her daughters. One might say the biological mother or the internal mother is as asleep or naive herself, as is often the case in very young girls or in unmothered women. Interestingly, in the tale, the older sisters demonstrate some consciousness when they say they do not like Bluebeard, even though he has just entertained and regaled them in a very romantic and paradisiacal manner. There is a sense in the story that some aspects of the psyche represented by the older sisters are a little more developed in insight that they have knowing, which warns against romanticizing the predator. The initiated woman pays attention to the older sister's voices in the psyche. They warn her away from danger. The uninitiated woman does not pay attention. She is as yet too identified with naivete. Say, for instance, a naive woman keeps making poor choices in a mate. Somewhere in her mind, she knows this pattern is fruitless, that she should stop and follow a different value. She often even knows how to proceed. But there is something compelling, a sort of Bluebeardian mesmerization, about continuing the destructive pattern. In most cases, the woman feels if she just holds on to the old pattern a little longer, why surely the paradisiacal feeling she seeks will appear in the next heartbeat. At another extreme, a woman involved in a chemical addiction most definitely has at the back of her mind a set of older sisters who are saying, "No, no way, this is bad for the mind and bad for the body, we refuse to continue." But the desire to find paradise draws the woman into marriage to Bluebeard, the drug dealer of psychic highs. Whatever dilemma a woman finds herself in, the voices of the older sisters in her psyche continue to urge her to consciousness and to be wise in her choices. They represent those voices in the back of the mind that whisper the truth that a woman may wish to avoid, for they end her fantasy of paradise found. So the fateful marriage occurs, the mingling of the sweetly naive and the dastardly unlit. When Bluebeard leaves on his journey, the young woman does not realize that even though she is exhorted to do anything she wishes except that one thing, she is living less rather than living more. Many women have literally lived the Bluebeard tale. They marry while they are yet naive about predators, and they choose someone who is destructive to their lives. They are determined to cure that person with love. They are in some way playing house. One could say they have spent much time saying his beard isn't really so blue. Eventually, a woman thus captured will see her hopes for a decent life for herself and her children diminish more and more. It is to be hoped that she will finally open the door to the room where all the destruction of her life lies. While it may be the woman's actual mate who denigrates and dismantles her life, the innate predator within her own psyche conquers. As long as a woman is forced into believing she is powerless and/or is trained not to consciously register what she knows to be true, the feminine impulses and gifts of her psyche continue to be killed off. When the youthful spirit marries the predator, she is captured or restrained during a time in her life that was meant to be an unfoldment. Instead of living freely, she begins to live falsely. The deceitful promise of the predator is that the woman will become a queen in some way, when in fact her murder is being planned. There is a way out of all this. but one must have a key. Thank you for listening with all your heart. Thank you for practicing active listening and for being part of this space which is created out of love. And because this book really means a lot to me, and I know it means a lot to you too, that's why you have reached this place. There is no coincidence in you being here listening to this book. There is always the path of the soul guiding you back home, guiding you to be really free. So take your time to listen to the different episodes, to journal about it, and to meditate on how your life can be more healthy, more vibrant, how you can become the wild woman you are meant to be. Stay safe, stay blessed, and thank you for leaving your kind comments below the video. Every episode is created with holistic approach. This means that the length of the episode is calculated, let's say, is designed to give you time to reflect, to give you time and to hold the space for you to connect with your emotions. My suggestion is after the end of the episode, you take some time to journal, to write, to feel your body, to acknowledge what happens in your inner world when you hear the story, when you listen to the story, or when you listen to some of the paragraphs of the book. That's why I'm sharing this book, because it's a book to be taken with small doses, like small sips, short sips, tiny steps, baby steps, because our healing process, our deep journey inside the desert of the wild woman must be taken seriously with respect, with love, with patience, and with a lot of compassion. Take your time, my dear.
Naloba, Lawasera, the wild woman, the wise crone. She is born again out of the luminous womb of the Divine Mother. She whispers the secrets, she gathers the pieces, she becomes the undoer, the weaver and the cure. Heart beats like ancestral drums, her blood pulses the way the river lives. The scars and the wounds, the wrinkles and the ashes build up the treasure which reveal the stories to be told as songs of mastery and mystery. She knows nothing about the noise, but knows it all about silence. She promises nothing to the mundane, but becomes confidence to the mystical soul. Beneath the roar, sweet whispers hide. Behind the wild, soft tenderness grows. Below the dry skin, subtle petals become a sigh. it's time for us to speak. Come, sister, come, dance, swim and fly. Come, sister, come, let your soul soar.